Hello, welcome back. This is A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. I'm Reverend Tomas, and still on the road here. My wife Cindy and I have been on the road for a couple of weeks. And today I'm coming to you from a really, really comfortable room with lots of natural light. Yeah, it's really nice. What we're going to discuss here is question 4 here in the clarification of terms. It's true perception and knowledge, and what actually is the difference between true perception and knowledge in A Course in Miracles. Because, as we know, the terminology here in the Course is a little bit different than in common parlance. There are words, there are things like atonement and forgiveness that have slightly different meanings here. And these meanings are important because A Course in Miracles is a thought system. That is every bit as comprehensive as it sounds, a thought system, and it is designed to help us clarify our perception and correct it. To perceive truly. That's the goal of the Course. That's the goal of A Course in Miracles, which we'll talk about, is true perception. And in order to perceive truly, well, we've got some work to do here in the world because we have thrown up multiple barriers between ourselves and the experience of who we are. Like a wall, like a brick wall, like a barrier, a barricade, a fence, something that blocks our experience of love. God, love, us, same, same, same. There is no separation of any kind. Yet, of course, as we run amok, gosh, that's putting it politely, isn't it? We don't realize that. So, what's true perception? What's knowledge in this terminology? Well, nothing in the world that we see lasts. Nothing at all. Even objects like mountains clearly don't last because they are formed and they appear to be perfectly solid, steady, concrete, physical, strong, all of the adjectives that we attribute to them. And what's going on is they're not permanent at all. They're moving. There are mountain ranges like the Himalayas that are growing, and many other mountain ranges that are crumbling into dust. Nothing lasts. By the way, that, lest we forget, includes this communication device that we see right here that we identify as us. Me, 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 me. That doesn't last either. Now, this, I hope, doesn't bring about a sense of panic, but it does for a lot of people because we identify with the body. This is why, in the thought system of A Course in Miracles, and by the way, all non-dual spirituality, the course, this course is not the only way. It's part of what Jesus refers to as the universal course, which is your awakening, our awakening. That is universal. How we get there can differ remarkably, can't it? But that explains all of the world spiritualities and religions that are out there. The way I like to look at this, you may find this helpful, is that there are many doors, many doors. A Course in Miracles is one of them. Now, here in this thought system, you are not a body. And in fact, we're not bodies. We know this. You know that you are not a compound physical body, 80% water, sacks of water that somehow is formed in a way that we can walk around, that we can eat food and go to the bathroom and communicate with each other, and all kinds of other things too, of course. It's not who we are, and each of us, deep down, knows this, recognizes this. This leads to a lot of deep thought and thinking, and sometimes dissatisfaction with this world that is constantly changing, doesn't it? Because eventually we'll all be led to a place, and perhaps you've been led to this place multiple times, and I think you have because you're watching this, where you think there's got to be a different way. There's got to be more to it than this. Oh, yeah, there is. There is. It's very powerful, isn't it? It's very powerful when you listen to this voice that compels you to, as we put it in language, seek the truth. In reality, what we do is we find a practice, a thought system that calls to us and works for us, and we learn it, we practice it. In A Course in Miracles, it includes the 20 workbook lessons that say, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. Only God is. Only God is. Nothing else is real. Ego does not wish to accept this, of course, so expect resistance. Who said this was all rainbows and unicorns, even though it's quite beautiful? It's not blissfully deceiving ourselves. A Course in Miracles is, well, to put it in common parlance, it's serious healing medicine. Yeah, it's not greasy kid stuff, is it? Nothing that changes in any way, shape, or form is real. Only God, only love, spirit is real. This is who we are. True perception sees things as they really are. Perception, as we see here in A Course in Miracles, is, of course, an illusion itself. Forgiveness, which is the means by which we correct our perception, is also an illusion. In truth, there's nothing to forgive. Our oneness with God is all that is. We simply don't realize it. We've thrown up a wall between ourselves and the experience of peace, of love, of who we really are. Our oneness with God. Through the practice of forgiveness, we correct our perception. And we come to see this wall that once looked so solid as a thin veil, like a wisp of cloud, a fog bank that may look gray and dark and bitter and imposing, that we can walk right through into the light beyond. Oh, yeah. Because it's insubstantial. What's going on with forgiveness, as it's taught in A Course in Miracles, is that we're replacing the thought system of the ego, separation, me, with the thought system of the Holy Spirit that looks on all of this and doesn't believe it, recognizes that it's all insubstantial and therefore not real. It's a very direct spiritual approach from which people may run and hide. And that's okay. In fact, you may have had this experience. I know a number of you are longtime students of the course. Many of you have been studying this for decades longer than I have in this lifetime. And yeah, it's something that's going to come up, isn't it? It's going to come up that we're going to experience some resistance to the simplicity of this message, the sheer, utter disarming simplicity of this message. We will run and hide from it. It will scare us, won't it? But we don't have to stay scared and afraid. So if you're experiencing this, well, I don't believe you type stuff, no problem. Now you don't have to believe me. You don't have to like me, right? You don't have to like anyone that's teaching spirituality. Eventually, what's going to happen is no matter how much you may choose to accept or reject the teachings of a certain thought system or a person or whatever you have, right? Whatever your practice looks like, you're going to come back to it eventually. Why? Because nothing in this world lasts. Your beautiful situation that you may have is impermanent. It's not real. It is not lasting. It's not eternal. It's not eternal. But you are who you really are. True perception, forgiveness, helps us remove this barrier. We recognize it for what it is, gradually if need be. And this can take as long as you want it to take. I mean, really. If you have not acquired the wisdom of Jesus and Buddha in 15 minutes, don't worry about it, right? Most of us have a gradual series of lessons to learn. That's the norm, is to have a process. And this is a process. So we gradually clarify our perception. We correct it. We, instead of seeing everything in the world as outside us, we see it as inside of us. The egregious behavior that we see in our neighbor is our own projected guilt and fear. Forgiveness recognizes this. What's going on is you forgive your neighbor, you're also forgiving yourself at the same time. There is no way it can be otherwise. Why? There is no separation of any kind. What appears to be two different people is not, in fact, any. There are no people there, in truth. This is a simple and 180 degrees different thought system than the one that we're presented with in society and our biology textbooks. So this kind of deep, direct spirituality is for people that are done playing around with the illusion. And you may count yourself among them. And you may not, and that's all right too. That's all right, because there is no order of difficulty in miracles. So anything counts. When I instruct people in meditation, which I've done for many years, there's nothing wasted in spirituality. I always instruct people that there's nothing wasted. If even you can only sit comfortably and quietly for one full cycle of breath, is that not just as powerful and beneficial as sitting down for 2.5 hours? It is, isn't it? Any little bit of what we consider incremental progress is highly valuable and very, very, very important indeed. So we're engaged in a process of learning to see what appears to be a solid wall as nothing but a passing wisp of cloud, what appear to be situations and events unfolding outside of us. There's no body. It's all symbolic of what's going on in our own mind. And we're having a wild experience with it, aren't we? We have wars going on, and yet we also have incredible beauty. A beautiful sunset is symbolic of the beauty that we all share as Christ. The ocean, the calming effects of the waves and the sand in the beach is symbolic of this same beauty. The ocean itself, or a mountain vista, or a desert vista, is symbolic of our limitlessness as Christ. So we get a lot of that in there, but we have to learn to see it that way. Because we also get the bullshit. We also get people behaving really badly, don't we? We get war. We get all kinds of horrid and egregious behavior. The ego wants us to reject the notion that it's all going on in our own mind. What is the appropriate response? Well, forgiveness is the appropriate response. We do not accord reality to something that's not real. Takes some learning, doesn't it? Takes some learning. And what is knowledge then? Knowledge is beyond all perception. It's the truth, it's the condition of who we are, one with God, eternally in God. Knowledge is, in A Course in Miracles, what lies beyond perception. When we reach true perception, it's said in this thought system, God takes then the final step himself, and everything that is unreal simply disappears. You'll notice something really important about this. It is a peaceful process of undoing. The ego is not peaceful, so it will never see anything as peaceful. But this is a very peaceful process of undoing. We're letting our illusions go. We're not making an opponent out of them. We're not going to war with them ourselves. We're not making them real. We're simply acknowledging that they're not. We're acknowledging that all of this is going on within ourselves, so we naturally, peacefully forgive our brother, the Son of God, other people. Naturally. And we don't have to kick anything in the face. I know that a number of you may have derived significant benefit from the slogan, from the bumper sticker, from the t-shirt, kick fear in the face. If that inspires you, please allow it to continue to inspire you. As I wrap up here today, I just want to offer another way of looking at that. You don't have to believe it. You can shut this off. I'll never know. I don't care, right? But I want to offer this anyway. This goes perfectly well with the thought system of A Course in Miracles, because when you kick something in the face, you make an opponent out of it. Doesn't matter if it's figuratively. You don't have to go up and punch somebody. If your neighbor is an asshole, you don't go up and throw him a wild haymaker to the jaw. Just saying, that's not wise. You can do this figuratively as well, but you don't have to kick anything or anyone in the face. That makes it real to you. It makes it solid. What we do with the practice of forgiveness is see that it's not real. We look beyond the veil to what's really there. Who is your neighbor that's behaving so poorly? It's also me. It's all of us. It's what's going on in our own mind. He is but a symbol of that. Overlook that unreality. Forgive. You're forgiving yourself. It's loving. It's very peaceful and gentle. What happens is rather than kicking fear in the face, we recognize it for what it is, nothing, and we set it gently aside. We do not make it real. We recognize it is nothing and we set it gently aside. This is really important. So I repeat, we recognize that it is nothing and we set it gently aside. So for what that's worth. I want to just wrap up here by thanking all of you for tuning in and letting you know that I am certainly available for questions. Please feel welcome to comment. And I also want to thank all of you who have recently subscribed. There have been a number of you, so thank you so much. I appreciate that. And this is designed to cover the thought system of A Course in Miracles, but I do wish to let you all know that this is universal. So it doesn't matter what your spiritual or religious background is. There is something that I'm going to say that is of benefit to you. Otherwise, you wouldn't find yourself watching. So if this means you stick around for the entire video to find that thing, I hope that you find it. That's why I'm sharing it, so that you will find it and that you will begin to honor that voice inside of you that's saying, yeah, there's got to be a different way. There's got to be a different way. Above all else, I want to see, I want the peace of God. I want the peace of God. Oh, and nothing else. Guess what happens? All right, we'll see you guys soon.